Creating a beautiful custom tiled shower and bath is at your fingertips. Coming up next on the At Home channel at Buildipedia.com. Hi there, I'm Jeff Wilson. You know, creating a custom tile installation in a bathroom like this is a rewarding do-it-yourself job. Tile is beautiful and it's durable, so your handiwork will be around a long time. Now, previously, we showed you how to install a tileable shower base, and today we're going to get down to installing this tile. Of course, any tile job starts with selecting the proper tile for your project. Many types of tile travel over great distances, sometimes imported from overseas, to make it to your home. We wanted to do something a bit more green, so we opted to use Seneca hand mold tile. When we picked up our tile at the factory, we were able to talk with owner Jim Fry about Seneca's low energy, low impact method of making tile.
The hand mold process is extremely unique in the fact that it is entirely authentically made one at a time. It's put on pallets, it's taken to a hand mold room where an individual actually grabs hunks and chunks of clay and throws it into an old wooden mold. So it's entirely made, each individual tile, by hand.
Unlike mass-produced tile, these tiles are made in small batches and are hand molded and glazed in kilns. Using abundant Ohio clay and sourcing the materials from nearby, the result is an earthy, rich mix of color and texture, which is perfect for our installation. But nothing can be installed until we give it a good foundation. So I'm installing concrete tile backer board to the floors and wall where the tile will go. The backer board will give the tile a strong waterproof base that will actually chemically bond with the thin set mortar and tile. I install the backer board with fasteners made for the job and install mesh tape with a layer of thin set to all the joints. We also previously installed the tile basin tileable shower base in an earlier video. The tile basin is a preformed shower base which will accept tile, taking out the step of having to fashion a shower base with rubber sheeting and mortar. This base will be perfectly sloped and completely watertight. Make sure you watch that process as well. All right, it's time to install some wall tile in our custom tiled shower and bath. We've chosen this 6x12 Seneca hand mold tile in a really pretty rainforest blend of colors, so different greens and grays in there. And I've laid it out here on the floor so I could figure out how the colors go together, but also the size of the tile and how it fits in the space. Now this will help you determine how to lay out your tile on the wall. All right, I've also gathered together here some of the materials and tools that I need. I've got some thin set mortar that I'm going to mix up in a second, a bucket and mixer. I've also got a notched trowel here that I'm going to apply the thin set with, and of course some gloves and goggles because those are important on any job. So I'm going to mix up some thin set and get started. I'm also installing a cove-based trim tile for the transition from floor to wall tile. This will give me a nice clean line where the floor and walls meet. The thin set goes on the concrete board using a 3/8 inch notched trowel. Work in small sections and use tile spacers like this to keep your grout line even and on track. Now it's important to clean up all of the drips from the thin set off of the tile as you work. You don't want that to set on the tile. It'll be hard to get off later. You'll also notice that I decided to put the wall tile on before I put the floor tile in. That's because I make a mess when I do this work and I'm trying to keep the thin set off of the floor tile. I'll put the floor tile in at the end after I've made the mess from the walls. When I come to the edge of the wall and need to cut a tile, I'm leaving that space open. I'll cut all the tile I need after I've laid the whole tile. I think the best tool for the job is a wet saw, a small table saw for tile with a diamond blade and a water reservoir to keep the blade cool. It makes easy work of straight cuts and simple notches. Most wet saws have a fence or guide to keep longer cuts straight, and a speed square makes a useful guide for 45-degree angle cuts. Eye and ear protection are a must when using the wet saw, and gloves and an old raincoat can keep you dry when you're doing a lot of cutting. You'll also have to make some holes to allow for rough plumbing. For this, the best tool to use is a tile hole saw, a diamond-encrusted bit that comes in various diameter sizes and attaches to just about any drill. Okay, we've laid our first 5 courses and now we're ready to move on to the ornamental pieces. We've got a band of ornamental tiles that'll go around the entire bathroom, which should be really stunning. And then we'll cap it all off with a 4x8 bullnose tile that'll give it a nice finished edge on top. Now, this is no different than laying the other tile. They're smaller pieces though, so it'll take a little bit of time. You wanna take your time, take baby steps. You'll get through it with a level and a little bit of patience, all right? Let's get started. Okay, we're getting pretty close to done installing the tile on the walls of our shower, but you may have noticed that we left this opening here. What we're going to do is install a glass block window that's made from the bottoms of discarded bottles. Now, I happen to know the artist who makes the glass block from the bottles, from bluemoonbottles.com. She happens to be my wife. All right, the tile's up on the walls and it's time for grout. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it and it's going to look great when it's all done. Now we have kind of a wide grout line here for the most part. That means you're going to use a sanded grout. We've chosen a gray color, but if you have an 1/8 inch or smaller grout line, you'll use a non-sanded grout. In our case, we've chosen this nice gray sanded grout. We've got the grout and some water to mix it with. We've got a bucket and a mixing tool to mix it together. And then we've got plenty of clean water, a sponge, lots of clean rags, and a buffer. And then to apply the grout, we're going to use this rubber float. We're going to smear it in and then wipe off the excess and make sure we get the tile nice and clean. You never want the grout to set up on the tile, only in between the tile. All right? So let's mix some up. When you mix, put on your gloves and your safety gear and add the water first to the bucket. That'll help make sure that the grout doesn't stick to the bottom too much. Okay, once you mixed your grout to a peanut butter consistency, you let it rest for about 10 minutes. That's called the slaking period. Once it slakes for 10 minutes, then you mix it again for a minute or 2 and you're ready to go. With these wider grout joints, working on a diagonal will help keep the grout in the joints evenly. Remember to clean the tile surface often as you work. After I finish one wall, I go back and start wiping the surface with a damp, clean sponge. Changing the cleaning water often is important so that you don't end up with a grout haze on the tile when you finish. Pacing myself between grouting and cleaning, soon I'm ready to move on to the floors. The process here is just like the walls. Mix mortar, trowel it on, and lay the tile using spacers. Since our layout has a semi-random pattern, I'm keeping my layout drawing nearby and double checking that I'm installing the right piece at the right time. All right, I've cut the tile for the base of my shower here. And when you have a shower like this one, you'll have a slope that lets all of the water drain to the center. So you want to make sure of a couple things. First of all, you want to make sure that your center drain is set either right at or just below the level of the tile, so the water will drain into that. Also, since there is a slope, you'll find with larger tile like these that you have to make some cuts to let the tile conform to that slope. The way to get around this, of course, would be to use small tile, like 1 or 2 inch tile, that would conform better to the shape of the floor. Okay, so I've got it dry laid. I'm going to pull it all up, set it very carefully over here, and then lay it all back in exactly the same position. Grouting the floors is similar to grouting the walls. I'm starting in a corner and working my way out. I don't want to have to walk on the tile any more than I have to while the grout is curing. In an hour or so, I'm all done and I just have to wait for everything to cure. Usually grout will cure within 4 to 6 hours, but every grout product is a little different, so check the manufacturer's directions to know for sure. Well, there you have it. Since I did all the work myself, I was able to invest a little more in the Seneca hand mold tile and get this really beautiful, unique look. And ultimately, the installation is going to be more interesting and more satisfying. And now that you have all the tips and tricks, you can do it too. I'm Jeff Wilson. Thanks for joining me. Come back often for more great do-it-yourself projects on the at-home channel at Buildipedia.com.